Usually don't. So we want to talk today about open houses. Michelle mentioned it the other day that we were going to dive into that today, and a little bit different. We've talked a lot before about like the actual process of an open house, how to go through that. But I really, especially with this spring market coming up, or not coming up, it's hitting hard here, and I'm kind of seeing everywhere. It's getting a lot busier. We're getting a lot more activity at open houses. So I really want to talk about how we can leverage those open houses into other pieces of business. So there's two big ways that we can do that. One, of course, is you want to meet every person that comes in the door, and the other is leveraging it to when you're inviting neighbors to the open house, how to have conversations to turn it in from just inviting them to the open house to actually getting a listing appointment out of that. So, who right now is doing a lot of open houses in their business? Give me a wave, thumbs up. If your video's not on, you can put something in the chat. Okay, so we have a lot of open house people. This is good. That means this is going to be a very good interactive conversation today. So open houses is when I first started in real estate, y'all know that I avoided calling my database, which is funny because that's my favorite thing now. So I relied on open houses as a huge, huge source of leads for my business. And it's funny how when I look at my very first open house and what I did compared to how I do an open house now, how incredibly different it is, how I was scared to make people sign in because what if someone doesn't want to give me their information or doesn't want to talk to me? And now it's like, listen, you don't get to look around unless you give me your information. So just I was thinking about this this morning, just the progression in watching from when I first started to now. And a lot of that has come from coaching. It's come from having conversations like this with other agents and being like, oh man, this is good. I'm going to incorporate this and seeing what works. So I just wanted to share a few of those things, probably my top three things to making sure you're getting more business out of your open house. So the very first thing is when you're inviting the neighbors, how many of you right now call and just say, like, call around the neighborhood and say, hey, just come to my open house? Or maybe hand out flyers or anything like that. Anybody? Angela? Good. Good. Oh, Brooke does. Okay, awesome. So this, and I'm going to just read the straight script to you because it's super simple and it's kind of perfect. But this is a way to take it from beyond just inviting them. So I'm going to say, hi, so and so. This is Audra Baldwin with eXp Realty. I'm hosting an open house this weekend at 123 Main Street in your neighborhood. Did you know that house was on the market? Well, my goal is to get that home sold this weekend. I'm sure you've heard that the market is definitely picking up this spring, and there's a really good chance that we're going to end up with a lot of buyers interested and only one house to sell them. It's also really likely that some of the buyers just aren't a fit for that home, but they really like this neighborhood. So I'm just curious, in either of those cases, would you be willing to look at an offer around X price if there are buyers who aren't a fit for that house? And sometimes I'll be like, I'm sure this is really out of the blue, but I'm just curious for the right price, would you ever be interested in selling your home? Most of the time, I mean, a lot of people are like, oh, I don't know, because you catch them off guard, right? But it gets people thinking and throw a price out there. Would you be willing to look at an offer around maybe the price of the home that you're holding open? And if they're even thinking about it a little bit, that's opening up a room for you to ask more questions and have conversations. So if they're like, well, no, not at that price, totally understand. Just out of curiosity, what would be a price that you would consider selling your home? Have you thought about selling your home before? If you sold your home now, where would you go? Just start asking a lot of questions. And I would say also, do this early in the week. If your open house is Saturday or Sunday, do this phone call like Monday or Tuesday, because the next part is you want to set an appointment with them before that open house. So that way you can come in, take a look around, give them some really good numbers on what they could actually get for their home. And then say, hey, this is awesome. We've got a rough price right here. After my open house this Saturday, it's over at 4. Could you just pencil us in for 4:30 to 5:30? So that way, as I do have people coming in, I'll make sure to tell them about your house, and I know that it's available for us to come and take a look. So you already have so much commitment from them. If they agree to that, you're showing them one that you work really hard for your at your open houses, right? And you're doing a lot to help them get their home sold, like probably something they weren't even thinking about, right? But now they're like, actually, for this right price, yes, come look at my house. Give me a price. Come show the house. And then in there is where you can also talk listing, get your listing paperwork signed. But um, don't don't overlook the abundance of listings that are out there by just picking up the phone and starting out by inviting them to your open house that you're going to have. You'll probably have treats or cookies. I've got little snacks. Coloring sheets for the kids are always a good idea. Just little things that you can tell them about. Come on over, tell me what you think about this house, but also I want to sell your home too. So that is one big way. There is a an agent that I was talking to in Missouri who started doing this, and he kind of went on a streak. Every week for about 2 months, he got a listing appointment every week out of from doing this for his open houses. So that's 8 extra listing appointments he got just from doing this every single week before his open houses. So does anybody right now call around and invite people? Well, I asked that question, but what do y'all do right now to leverage your open houses into getting more listings in the area?
So I will call sometimes, probably not as consistently as I need to. Sometimes too, like I had a listing in the neighborhood I currently live in, and I know the neighborhood that tends to move into here. And so I will call those neighborhoods too and just invite them to the open house. Um, Not probably as well versed in my script to get the listing. I'm trying to get people into the open house, but
That is super, super smart. And you can use this same script. Find out what neighborhoods kind of feed into yours. So if your open house is around a $500,000 house, what about the neighborhoods that are in that 250 to 400 range? Because those are the people that are likely going to sell to move into your open house. So definitely calling through those. That's really, really smart.
yeah. And then the other thing I do, I think I've mentioned this before on the call, is I find the FISBOs in the area and I call them and I do that whole script of, hey, I'm hosting this open house this weekend. I was just wondering if I could come take a look at your house. What I find is most people that walk through my open house aren't going to be the buyers for this house. If there's going to be something about it that's not going to be the right fit for them. And so I love to just provide them with a list of homes in the area that are similar or maybe a good fit. Could I walk through your house for 5 or 10 minutes, just get a feel for your layout and see if it might be something I could put on my backup list for people that come through my open?
I love that. And man, that will go right into your FISBO plan, right? Because
Right.
now you have made that connection with them. And man, open houses provide so many opportunities to connect with so many different people. You can do that same script with expired or terminated listings in the area, because these people at some point wanted to sell their home, and then just have a really good follow-up plan with them after. I love that, doing that with FISBOs, and always have a list of available homes in the area. So that way, as people are walking through, if it's not the home for them, you can say, hey, I totally understand. Look at this list of other homes in this area that I have. I'd be happy to show you a home. I'm done here at 4 o'clock. Why don't we meet over here at 5 o'clock? So always having that information. But I think especially with the FISBOs or the expireds or the neighbors that you've talked to, prioritize those because it's building that relationship with those homeowners so you can eventually get that listing because we know they're going to list, right? What's the percentage of FISBOs that actually end up listing? Something like 88%. That's crazy. Be the one that's talking to them and use your open houses as a way to jump in and get that conversation going. So the other thing is how many of you just maybe just don't get everybody signing in to this is probably the biggest struggle I talk to around open houses is getting people to sign in when they walk in the door. Anybody have else have a struggle with that? That was mine when I started. Alan? Oh, hands all over. Okay. That is, we're in a world where everybody gets 4 bajillion emails and spam phone calls. And I have figured out this new thing on my phone called Focus, where I can only allow people that are in my contacts to actually ring through because I'm getting so many of all these spam phone calls. So everybody is wanting to avoid putting their information out for fear of that. One thing that we have to think about too with open houses and guests coming in, yes, we want to get all of their information, but also we want to be respectful of the homeowner. And if something were to happen in the home, we need a really good list of everybody that was in there that day. It's being respectful of their space. It is good security for you as well if something happens to have a list. Um, so you kind of have to get creative with getting people comfortable signing in. So I always, instead of having like a spreadsheet where it's just name, phone number, email, I always have a survey for on just the old-fashioned wooden clipboards spread out at the very front. I have pens and I have a giant bowl with a sign next to it. And the sign says that everyone that fills out the survey in full, so I have like 5 questions at the bottom, rating things on a scale of 1 to 10, contact information up at top. Everybody who fills out this survey gets entered into a drawing for a $50 gift card. Here's the thing, you don't have to do that drawing every open house. You could do it once a quarter. You could do it once a year. Don't put a day on there, a day on there that you're actually doing the drawing. Just do one eventually. And you could partner with a lender or someone who would provide that. But when people walk in the door, I'm always there. I greet them. I try to set up as close to the front door as possible. I say, thank you so much for stopping by. I know you're excited to see this home. You should really see that master closet. It's incredible. It's got a lit up vanity. Always have some kind of cool thing about the house. But before you do, we are asking that everyone that comes in signs in first for security purposes. Our sellers just really like to know, have record of everyone that comes through. But don't worry, I'm not going to spam you because I'm not, right? We don't spam people. We just give people what they want. And I'm not going to sell their information. And then I point to the survey and the drawing. Say, if you complete it in full, you're going to be entered into this drawing. If I get pushback, because sometimes we're like, oh, no, I don't want to sign that. Don't want to give out my information. I totally understand. I don't like giving out my information either. I'll put a note on here to remind me not to contact you. I'll send you a link to the house and that is it. Your information is safe. I just have to have a record of everyone that comes in through this open house. So again, I'll make a note not to reach out, but I've got to have that everybody signing in. If I still get pushback at this point, again, I totally understand. But like I said, for out of respect for my sellers, for my open house, I do have to have everyone sign in. If you'd prefer, I'd be happy to set up a private showing with you after the open house and you can come through. But it's a requirement that everybody does sign in at this point. If at that point they're still not willing to sign in, that's not somebody, they're not serious, right? They're just there to just look around. But don't let them in because I mean, you set that boundary, hold that boundary. It is very rare that you're going to get someone to the point, even after that, where they're like, no, I'm coming in this house and let me in. If they get that hostile, I mean, if they're starting to get hostile with you, then you can always call the police. But it shouldn't, I've never had it get to that point ever. Because once people understand, hey, this is just out of respect for my sellers, we just need to know everyone that's coming through. You would like to know if someone was coming through your home too, right? And they agree. They're like, oh yeah. And I show them where I make a note that I'm not going to spam them. I say, I'll just send you a link to the house so you have that. But I won't bother you after that. This is just being respectful. And whenever I send them that link after the open house, 99% of the time they get on my website and start looking around at other houses. And then they start setting up like an e-alert. So they are setting up their own, not spam, but their own email system to come in on their own. So then it's kind of open, right? I can follow up with them because they've opened that door by setting all of this stuff up. But be very diligent about getting everyone to sign in when they walk in. Yes, it's a security thing, but also, how are you going to pick up those leads if you're not getting people to sign in? And if you're not doing that, if you're not getting people to sign in, this sounds cold and harsh, but why did you waste your time to do the open house to begin with? because that's the whole purpose is to get the leads. And if you're not going to get the leads, if you're not going to get everyone, find something else to do because you could have that's a big chunk of time in the open house prep for the week and your afternoon at the open house and your follow-up time. If you're not going to actually get people to sign in so you can add those people to your database, you need to find a different form of lead generation because you're not actually getting the leads. So, Michelle, what do you do? How do you get people to sign
Yeah. I mean, I do the survey thing as well. I have a sign-in sheet. Sometimes we'll have QR codes to scan. So one of our partners at the Fast Forward movement had a great idea that we've been slowly working to implement in here about QR codes throughout the house. So you might have something in the house that's a QR code to a video that could be talking further in depth to the house, right? So you're getting them to your YouTube video or your YouTube channel or your social media channels. But then I like to most of us that are using CRMs have a way to do like those instant valuation reports. So that putting a QR code up there that's curious what your home is worth, click here. So just little things where they can click along the way that feel a little bit less abrasive than, just the sign-in sheet piece of things. I have tried even not having a flyer there, just doing a flyer like in a little stand so they can see the information and then having a QR code that they can scan to get the flyer. I'm probably less aggressive in collecting information than some other people. But I think it depends on, your comfort level of being able to kind of stand your ground and also your end goal of how you want to capture that information and who you're trying to work with. So I think there's multiple ways to do that. Is my mom still on here, Peggy? She is much better at getting sign-ins than I am. So I'm going to call you out, Mom. And let you kind of explain what you do because we'll have open houses, both of us, and my mom will be like, "Yeah, I had 5 people through, and all 5 of them signed in," and she's just really good at that.
Yes, Peggy,
I
share your secrets.
well, I guess I just have worked through that through the years, but I just felt that it's really important to get their information because it is important especially when you have a home that is lived in. You want to make sure you have the people's information. Of course, it's important for us because we want to have somebody to follow up with. I try to get rapport with them first, but I do, first I point it out. If they don't do it, then I remind them when they come through. But it's friendly. I'm not like you need to sign this, But typically, I just try to get some rapport with them, and and I said, "Oh, here's the sign-in sheet. The owners like to have, we like to have signatures or." I don't flip over. I can usually just get right through it when I'm at an open house because I've done so many in my lifetime. I feel they're important. Always have, even when people went, went down where people thought they weren't, agents thought they weren't important. I've always felt they're important. I think they always will be. But you just need to be kind of just like it's a matter of fact, And 99% of the people will do it. There is those people that just, no, and then some people will just put their name. Oh, well, I'm not going to sit there and stare over them, but 99% of them will at least give me an email address or at least give me their address. So it's nice. I have to say that I do put my other daughter's name in there with an email and a phone number. It's not a real phone number, but in there. And, that if she has an agent or not, I usually just say no or Peggy Harmeyer, but that way they can, at least I know. I like them to put who their agent if they are working with an agent, because at least I can contact that agent if they seem like they were really interested or that. But anyhow, that's kind of what I do. So
You said 2 things that I think are important to call out. When you're asking for that information, you're just having a conversation with them and you're saying it with confidence. And Audra, you said this too in your method. I think you just go into it with confidence, like this is just what we do. You
Yeah.
don't ask them, could you please sign in or suggest that they sign in? This is just what we do. So you're creating kind of that initial conversation with them. Hey, here's whatever. A lot of times I said, like, there's flyers and a sign-in sheet on the counter. Sellers are asking that everybody signs in. You just go into it with confidence, like this is just the thing that you do. There was something else, but I lost my train of thought. So
Well, and you also, you do it in a friendly manner. You
Yeah.
don't do it in like you've got to do this. But you do it in a friendly manner. You do it like they need to do it, but you don't do it forcefully. And then you remind them if they went and looked off to something else, I remind them when they come back or before they leave. And typically and I always try to make rapport with people. I'm pretty good at that. I don't, and I'm not trying to brag, but I've just been pretty good at that. I'm a friendly person. I usually get to be friends with just about anybody. So that's all I got to say.
Something when you mentioned go like you would put your daughter's name or something on the sign-in sheet, I'll fold up a few surveys, even if they're blank, and I'll drop them in the bowl so it looks like people are already doing it. It's just these little things that are like, oh, well, if they're doing it, I'll do it, right? Kind of peer pressure-ish a little bit, but
I,
it works. Nobody
it
wants to be
makes a
that.
difference. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's just that weird little mental trick. I don't, it's kind of funny. I have, this idea actually might have come from Matt. I have a friend who was having a hard time getting, she was also coaching with Matt too. Her and her husband were, but she was having a hard time getting people to sign up. And so she actually set up her table. She would take a folding table with her and set it up outside the front door. So no one could even get in the house until they signed in. And again, super friendly about it. Like, hey, I'm so excited you're here. So excited for you to see how amazing that kitchen is. But before you come in, I just need to make sure that I get everybody's contact information. And she never got to the point where anybody was hostile or anything like that. Um, it it just they oh Matt says Betsy. Um, it was David and Candace actually, but they would just set up out on the front porch. And that increased the rate that she got people signing in. Oh, Betsy did too. Sweet. Um, that helped a ton because they're just out there ready to go. And it's setting that expectation, like both of y'all just said, like, hey, this is just what we do. And if you want to come in, awesome, here's the requirement. If not, that's okay. Let's set up another time for you to see the home. And the funny thing about that is for you to be able to set up another time to see the home, they've got to give you their contact information. So either way, you're getting that information, or they can just walk away. And that's okay too. They weren't that interested if they are just flat out refusing everything. So the last thing is follow up. If you don't have really excellent follow up, again, it was a waste of your time. If you get all of these names and all these people that finally sign in, but you don't do anything with it, then that open house, all those hours you spent on that, you should have been doing something else with, reading a book or something, because you're going to get the same amount of business, right? I immediately, even as I'm at the open house, if I have downtime, I'm going to go ahead and text them an email just from my phone, text and email a link from the house. Even the people that said they don't want anything, I tell them, like, hey, I'm just going to send you a link so that way you have that. But I send immediately text and email. Thank you so much. It was so nice to meet you. Here's a link to the home. Let me know if you have any questions. I'm going to make sure they're in my CRM. And that next week, everybody that I didn't put a no contact note on is going to get a phone call and another text and another email from me. And then I have a really consistent schedule of, I mean, every week they're hearing from me in some form or fashion, until I get that appointment with them, until I have that conversation with them on what they're looking for and what they want to do next. But all of those things, if you're not following up at a really high level, it's pointless. And that stinks. Nobody wants to waste their time, right? But that is probably getting people to sign in and then following up with leads are probably the two areas where people don't do the things the most. And that's sad because those are the things that you need to get buyers. So what is y'all's follow-up system like after your open house?
Yeah, can I just say most of our coaching clients and mentees that say open houses don't work, it's because they're not working their open houses.
Mhm.
I mean, that's truly, they're just expecting that you're going to sit in and you're going to have a buyer come in. And I even prep my sellers to say open houses don't typically sell your house. It's the advertising around the open house and the follow-up after the open house that sells your house. So I think you make a good point to that. I do the same thing with texting them and just reminding them. I like the part of adding a link. Sometimes I will do that, and it's very helpful from a perspective of a lot of these people go and see 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 open houses. How do they know which one yours is? They're not going to know it by the address. So maybe it's you standing in the kitchen doing a video, so they're going to remember that kitchen or something of that nature. I do like to send the video messages like, hey, this is Michelle. I just met you at the house on whatever street. Just wanted to say thanks for coming through. Let me know if you have any questions. And then kicking off a follow-up plan on the back end that you're touching them regularly. So you're sending them a variety of things from emails to handwritten thank you notes to the calls and texts. But also, if you guys aren't using the power of creating custom audiences and like your Facebook advertising, you can hit them. We all see that stuff that says sponsored. You can create a custom audience and have a sponsored ad that's popping up in their Facebook as well. So you're hitting them from just everywhere so they can't quit seeing you.
Yeah. I was talking to an agent the other day. We were talking about open houses and how to do them. And I don't know if I've shared this story on here with y'all, but when I was learning how to do open houses, I would go to different open houses just to see how people were doing it. And I walked into this house one day and the living room light was off. Nobody was in there. There was a light on in the kitchen. It had a separate, there was a wall in between, but I could see light. And someone yelled from the back, "Hey, I'm back here." And I was like, am I in the right house? Like, is this actually, looked at the sign was out there. So I kind of peek around the corner and this guy's sitting on the counter. He's got one shoe on, like the other flip-flop had fallen off. He's like, "I'm here. If you need something, let me know." And I was like, it was so awkward and so uncomfortable. He never told me his name, never told me or never asked for mine. Never, there wasn't a flyer, there wasn't a sign in, nothing. Just sat there on his phone. I don't even know if he looked up at me. But I mean, I got out of that house fast, like so fast. And of course, there was no follow-up, nothing. That guy's not an agent anymore. I took a picture of his sign. I was like, I'm really curious. I don't even know that he lasted a year, but he wasn't connecting with people. He sure wasn't following up, and he is sure out of business right now. So if you're not doing those things, Peggy's face, literally one shoe, the other one had fallen off, and he's just sitting up there yelling at people. So make sure that you're friendly and welcoming and connecting with people and getting them to sign in and follow up, because otherwise you should be doing something else. So, that's right at 9:30. Any final thoughts, questions, anything in this last few seconds?
Was that Audra's version of being like spicy Audra? Was that you like throwing it down? Like be nice and personable or go away.
Or go find another job. No, I mean, I'm that this is the harsh version of me, I guess, maybe like a little bit. Oh,
Oh, I had a quick
I was
question.
one flip-flop. Yes.
Thank you so much. So helpful. When you say you call like the other neighborhoods or neighbors, do you get their phone numbers from title or what's like, do you have certain ways you are getting
Yeah.
phone numbers?
So there's a couple of different ways. My favorite way is a website called True People Search. You can use Forewarn as well, but I did have an agent get locked out the other day because she was looking up too many numbers. So truepeoplesearch.com, you literally can just put in the address and it's going to give you, now sometimes it's going to give you numbers of anyone that lived there, and you can compare it to your appraisal district website and make sure it's the right name. But that's what I do. I mean, I know that you can also buy lists, neighborhood lists and stuff like that.
Yeah, RedX and Mojo both have circle prospecting. They're called neighborhood search, I think, and they're fairly affordable if you just wanted to pull in those and not get like expired FSBO data and all that. I think you're looking at like $50, $75 a month to pull in that. So
Thank you.
well, thank y'all for jumping in and
and
go get some amazing open houses.
yes, and you guys have to join us Monday because that's going to be our 100th recorded episode. For Mindset
Woohoo!
Monday, Matt's gonna bring some hardcore mindset on Monday. He just doesn't know it yet to celebrate our 100th. So make sure you jump on that one. Otherwise, we'll see you guys on Friday.
Well, have a good week.
Thank you.